Okay, so get this. You know how the US dollar is like the global currency? Well, there's this group of nations that are aiming to change. Buckle up, because today we are diving deep into the BRICS Alliance's plan for a new common currency.
A new common currency?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a big deal. And we've got some fascinating sources that suggest this is more than just talk.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we're going to unpack like how serious this challenge to the dollar really is,
right?
What the potential impact could be, and what we know about how this new currency is supposed to work.
Absolutely, and it's a really interesting development for sure.
Yeah. So to get us started, I think it's important to just quickly lay out, what BRICS is, because not everyone might be familiar with that acronym.
Yeah, definitely a good place to start.
So we're talking Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, right?
Exactly.
A powerful bloc of emerging economies. And they're really making moves to shake things up in the global financial system.
Yeah, they are. And the fact that they're coming together to create this new currency is a pretty big signal that they're serious about challenging the existing order.
Right. And that's kind of the mission of this deep dive, right? Like, Is this just talk? Or is this something that could actually have like real world consequences?
Totally. And I think, one of the things that makes this so interesting is that we have confirmation straight from Sergey Ryabkov, the deputy foreign minister of Russia.
Oh, wow. So like high level confirmation.
Yeah, he didn't mince words. He flat out said, not only it exists,
what?
It is not hypothetical.
So like they're not messing around.
No, they're not.
This is like actually happening.
It is.
Okay, so they're serious. But like a new global currency needs more than just ambition.
Huh.
But he's like systems in place to ensure it actually works.
You got it.
So did the sources like dig into the nitty gritty of how they're planning to pull this off?
They did, and this is where I think things start to get really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
So Ryabkov highlighted the focus on payment clearing mechanisms.
Payment clearing mechanisms.
Yeah, so think of it this way. Like every time you buy something online,
right,
there's a system that makes sure your money gets from your account to the seller's account securely and reliably right.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's what a clearing mechanism does, but on a global scale.
Okay, so like the behind the scenes stuff that makes the whole system work.
Exactly. So the fact that they're focused on this shows that they're thinking about the practicalities of how this new currency will actually function.
They're not just like printing money and hoping for the best.
No, they're actually putting in the work to build the infrastructure.
Okay, that's smart. I mean, it's like they're building the plumbing for this whole new financial system.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And it's not just about the clearing mechanism.
There's more.
They're also looking at insurance systems for goods in transit.
Interesting.
Adding a layer of protection and trust for international trade.
Okay, so it's like they're thinking about the whole picture, like not just how the money moves, but also how to make sure that the goods that are being traded are protected.
Exactly. It's all about creating a system that's secure and reliable enough to compete with the existing systems.
Okay, that makes sense, but let's be honest. The elephant in the room is the US dollar.
For sure.
I mean, it's been the dominant global currency for ages.
Right.
Did the sources address like how this BRICS currency might impact that?
Oh, they absolutely did. And this is where I think things get really juicy.
Okay, spill the tea.
So Ryabkov went so far as to say that the current dollar-dominated system is failing.
Failing. Wow, that's a strong word.
It is. And he sees the BRICS currency as an additional circuit, implying there's a need for alternatives.
Okay, additional circuit.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about like replacing the dollar entirely, but more about like creating another option, another pathway for global finance.
Exactly. It's about diversifying options and creating more competition in the global currency market.
So I guess the question is like, what specific failures is he referring to?
Right. What's driving this perception that the dollar's dominance is waning?
Yeah, because I mean, the dollar has been pretty much the king for a long time.
It has, and to be fair, it's not about a sudden collapse,
right?
But more about a growing sense that the dollar-centric system may not serve everyone's interests as effectively as it once did.
Okay, so it's like a slow burn kind of situation.
Yeah, more like a gradual erosion of trust or confidence.
I see, and what's contributing to that erosion?
Well, I think we have to consider the context here.
Okay, context is always important.
The weaponization of the SWIFT system, which is essentially the messaging system for international bank transfers,
right,
has raised concerns, especially after it was used to exclude Russia from global financial networks.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal.
It was, and it led some countries to worry that they could be vulnerable to similar actions if they fall out of favor with the U.S.
So it's like a trust issue. Like if the U.S. can just cut off a country from the global financial system because of political disagreements.
Right. Then what's to stop them from doing it to other countries in the future?
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
It is, and I think it's one of the key drivers behind this push for a BRICS currency.
Makes sense. I mean, it's like they're trying to create a system that's less susceptible to political influence from any single country.
Exactly. It's about creating more financial autonomy and less reliance on a system that they perceive as potentially biased against them.
Okay, so it's like offering a lifeboat to those who feel like they're stuck on a ship that's taking on water.
I love that analogy. That's a really great way to put it.
So we've got this potential power shift brewing, but are we talking about a small group? Or could this BRICS currency attract other nations?
Well, according to our sources, Ryabkov expects other developing nations to jump on board once this system is up and running.
Really?
Yeah, think about it. If you're a country that relies heavily on trade, the idea of reducing your dependence on the US dollar and potentially securing better terms could be very tempting.
It's like a new club forming and everyone wants to see what the perks are before they sign up.
Exactly.
But hold on a sec. We've been talking about this new currency, but we're missing some key details.
Well, like what?
What's it even called?
Right.
How will the exchange rates work? What's backing it?
You're absolutely right, and that's a crucial point. Unfortunately, the sources we have don't provide specifics about the currency itself.
Oh, so it's a mystery.
It is a bit of a mystery at this stage. We don't know its name, how it's structured, or what will back its value.
Okay, so we've got confirmation that it exists,
Right.
some insights into their goals and motivations, but the actual details of the currency itself are still under wraps. It's kind of like knowing a blockbuster movie is in production, but having no idea about the plot or the cast.
Exactly, and that's what makes this so compelling. We're witnessing the early stages of something that could have a massive impact on the global financial landscape. But the specifics are still unfolding. It's a developing story with the potential for major twists and turns.
Okay, so buckle up, everybody, because this is just the beginning.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a wild ride.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll delve even deeper into the potential implications of this BRICS currency. Stay tuned.
Yeah, real cliffhanger, right?
Yeah.
Makes it all the more intriguing to follow. And we're not just talking about some abstract economic theory here. This could reshape the global balance of power for decades. The world has operated within a dollar-centric system. Now we're seeing a group of powerful nations actively working to create an alternative.
Yeah, it's a huge deal, right?
It is.
Like, it's not just about which currency we use to buy stuff online. This is the potential to, like, change the whole geopolitical landscape.
Absolutely. Think about it. A successful BRICS currency could give developing nations more leverage on the world stage. They'd have more options for trade investment and financing without having to rely as heavily on the US or the Western financial system.
So we could see, like, a shift away from a world dominated by a single superpower
Right.
towards something more multipolar
Exactly.
with multiple centers of influence.
Yeah, and that would have ripple effects on everything.
Wow.
From international relations to trade agreements to even military alliances.
Okay, so we're talking about, like, potentially massive changes on a global scale.
Massive.
But let's zoom in a bit. Like, how might this BRICS currency actually impact the average person's life?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, it's still too early to say for sure. A lot depends on the specifics of how this new currency is designed and implemented.
Right, but, like, can we speculate a bit?
Sure.
Let's say this BRICS currency does gain traction and becomes a major player in global finance.
Okay.
What are some potential scenarios we could see play out?
All right. So one possibility is that we see a gradual shift away from the US dollar as the primary currency for international trade.
Okay.
This wouldn't happen overnight, but over time, we could see more and more countries using the BRICS currency for transactions.
Okay, so picture this. You're browsing an online store,
Right.
and instead of seeing prices in dollars, you see them in this new BRICS currency.
Okay. Yeah.
What happens then?
That's a great way to visualize it in that scenario. We'd need to consider exchange rates.
Right.
The value of the BRICS currency relative to the dollar would determine how much you actually pay for those goods.
So my online shopping sprees could get more expensive or less expensive,
Exactly.
depending on how the currencies fluctuate.
Precisely. But beyond online shopping, we could see broader economic impacts. A shift away from the dollar could lead to changes in the prices of imported goods, potentially impacting everything from consumer electronics to food to energy.
So it's not just about the convenience of using a different currency.
Right.
It could actually affect our wallets in a tangible way.
Exactly. And that's just one potential scenario. We could also see changes in global investment flows.
How so?
Well, if investors start seeing the BRICS currency as a safe and stable alternative, they might move some of their money out of dollar-denominated assets and into BRICS-backed assets.
So like a financial domino effect.
Yeah.
One shift leads to another, and suddenly the whole landscape looks different.
That's a great analogy, and these shifts could create both opportunities and challenges.
In what way?
Well, for example, developing nations might find it easier to access capital and attract investment if they're using a currency that's seen as more aligned with their interests.
Okay, so that sounds like a potential win for those countries.
Derby.
But I imagine there would be some pushback.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, not everyone would be happy about this shift in power.
You're absolutely right. There would likely be resistance from countries that benefit from the current dollar-centric system, particularly the United States.
Yeah.
A decline in the dollar's dominance could impact the U.S. economy and its ability to exert influence on the global stage.
So we could see like some geopolitical tensions flare up
Possibly.
as countries try to adapt to this new financial order.
It's definitely a possibility we could see increased competition for resources, trade disputes, and even political maneuvering as nations jostle for position in this new landscape.
Right. It's like everyone's trying to figure out where they stand in this new world order.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that economics and politics are deeply intertwined.
They are. It's like two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
No.
There are potential downsides and risks to consider as well.
For sure.
But even with those uncertainties, one thing's for sure, this is a story worth following closely. It has the potential to impact everyone, from individuals to entire nations.
Absolutely. We're talking about a fundamental shift in the global financial system, something that could have far-reaching consequences, and it's all happening right now in real time.
Yeah, it's like watching a financial thriller unfold.
It is.
We know the stakes are high, but we don't know exactly how it's going to play out.
Right.
Speaking of unfolding, is there anything else from our sources that we should unpack before we get to the grand finale of this deep dive?
There's one more point that I think is worth highlighting. Remember when Ryabkov talked about the dollar system failing?
Yeah.
Well, he actually elaborated on that, and his choice of words is revealing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What did he say?
He said that the BRICS currency is designed to operate in conditions where the dollar channel is, and I quote, failing for reasons beyond the control of BRICS.
Beyond the control of BRICS. That's interesting. What do you make of that?
I think it's a subtle but important point. He's framing this as a response to existing problems with the dollar system, not as an aggressive move by the BRICS nations. They're essentially saying, look, the current system isn't working as well as it should, and we're offering a solution.
So it's less about attacking the dollar and more about presenting themselves as the responsible adults in the room, offering life raft in a storm they didn't create.
Exactly. It's a clever way to position themselves and garner support from other countries that might be feeling the same way about the current system.
Right, it's all about perception and framing, especially in the global stage. Okay. We've unpacked the key details, explored the potential implications, and even delved into the nuances of the language being used. It's clear that this is a topic that deserves our attention as it continues to evolve. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to get your perspective on what the listener should be paying attention to moving forward. What are the key things to watch for as this story unfolds?
That's a great question. I think there are a few key things to keep an eye on. First, we need to see how the BRICS nations actually structure this new currency. Will it be backed by gold, a basket of commodities, or something else entirely? Will it be a digital currency, like a cryptocurrency? These details will be crucial in determining its viability and potential impact.
So the devil's in the details, as they say.
Absolutely. Second, we need to watch how other nations react. Will developing countries embrace this new system? Will major economies like the US and Europe try to undermine it? The geopolitical chess match will be fascinating to observe.
Sounds like we're in for a wild ride.
And finally, I think it's important to pay attention to how this all plays out for everyday people. Will we see significant changes in exchange rates, trade patterns, or even the prices of goods and services? The economic ripple effects could be substantial.
It's a reminder that even events that seem far removed from our daily lives can have a very real impact.
Absolutely. So stay informed, stay curious, and buckle up. The future of global finance is in flux, and it's going to be an interesting journey.
All right, so let's kind of like recap what we've talked about in this deep dive.
Yeah.
The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Big players.
Yeah.
Banding together to create this new global currency. And they seem pretty serious about it, right?
Yeah, they're not messing around. They want to challenge the US dollar's dominance.
Yeah, and they're putting systems in place like we talked about.
Right, the clearing mechanisms, insurance for goods in transit.
Yeah, all that stuff to try to make this new currency a viable alternative.
A real contender.
Yeah, but like with any big shakeup,
of course,
there are a lot of unknowns.
A lot of question marks.
Yeah, and the potential impacts are huge.
Absolutely. This could reshape the whole global financial landscape.
Yeah.
It's a bold move for sure.
Totally. And it's all happening right now, like in real time.
That's what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah. But before we let our listeners go, I want to leave them with something to think about.
Okay, hit me.
So imagine this BRICS currency really takes off, right?
All right.
It gains widespread acceptance, becomes a major player in international trade, really starts to chip away at the dollar's dominance.
Okay, I'm following you.
What does that world look like? Like, how does that impact your everyday life, even if you're not like a trader on Wall Street or a diplomat?
That's the question, isn't it? Because these things that seem so big and global, they do trickle down to our everyday lives.
Yeah, for sure. Like, think about it. The value of like our local currency could fluctuate.
Of course.
The prices of everything we buy.
Yeah, everything from that cup of coffee
to that new phone, yeah.
Exactly. It could be impacted.
Our travel plans might get more expensive or cheaper.
Yep, exchange rates.
It's all interconnected.
It really is.
And it's not just about like the direct economic impacts either.
Yeah,
right?
There's a whole geopolitical side to this.
It's like a whole power shift.
A multipolar world, like we talked about, with multiple centers of financial power.
Yeah. So new opportunities for some countries, maybe challenges for others.
Absolutely.
The whole landscape could shift.
It's a bit of a domino effect.
Yeah. So it's not just about numbers and currencies, right?
No way.
It's about power dynamics. Alliances, the very fabric of international relations.
It's about how the world works.
Yeah, this one move by the BRICS nations could set off a chain reaction.
Totally.
That could completely reshape the world as we know it.
We're talking about a paradigm shift.
It's a big deal.
It is. And it's a reminder that we live in a complex and interconnected world. What happens on the global stage can have real impacts on our everyday lives.
So stay informed. Stay curious.
Keep learning.
Yeah, the future is uncertain, but like if we understand these global trends, we can at least try to navigate the changes as they come.
Absolutely. Well said. Thanks for having me on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, and thanks to all of you listeners for tuning in to this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. For your breaking news with in-depth analysis and more intriguing, mind-blowing stories, check Crazy Story channel below. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and then subscribe for more. Thanks a million for watching.